This begins our session. While on the canvas screen, I like using highlights the proper way. I even like squinting the highlights to go around the edges to get that kind of sharp, really light feel when it comes to my works. Making sure my highlights have a really good disposition about them. See, as it goes around the body parts and let's say the armor and details that I put in the image and all that kind of good stuff. The illumination goes in good combination with the burn tool, as when used properly or the right way, you can sort of get more of a pop out in those sectors that you're painting and defining with that. To the individual, it might depend how you use things, but then I tend to sort of have a feel of what comes natural to me when I'm working on such projects. As you may already know, sometime inclusion of that burning tool could add that much more depth in those parts that you may have not previously added the depth before. You don't always have to add it in its drawing phase. You can use that to add the definition you want afterwards, and then impose on it what you will as you're going along. There's something that kind of concerns me about the development of stuff. I hope people are still out there using their original ideas. I know that maybe in the industries there's a lot of remakes and a lot of add-ons to certain things that are out already, but then it's always good to come out with something brand new as well. Let's take for example the game industry. You know, you have your Halos, you have your Modern Warfares and things like that, but they seem to fog over certain other things, which was a crucial formula as development was pushing up through the years. If we take away from too many desired elements, we might start to lose that inspiration that kicks things to want to really move them further. And that makes things turn out kind of stale. It's not something likable when it happens. And that's one of the things that might decrease some of the input into, let's say, the game industry, for instance. I mean, and we already see or hear certain things that the developers want to do already and things like that. So the idea is pretty much there. I mean, one thing that will really always save it is new ideas. It's just that the lack of marketing them well kind of makes it hit a wall. And then nobody sees that, but they see what's in their faces most of the time. You would also see stuff that's created and made good, and then it gets less attention, less gross profits than something that's already in the mainstream. And I mean, I think that's how it goes sometimes. A few titles have been picked up that started to get at least a proper decent amount of profits to where they were able to make more sequels and things like that. But other than that, that's pretty much it in that issue there. So yeah, using your highlights would definitely help you pop things out. Probably help with your lighting, the whole sun and position in the sky, or the light in the room in this instance, and stuff like that. That's all adding to that gleam and your whole directional with the reflections from maybe some walls and stuff that you see around you. What you do with an image can determine whether it hits a wall and goes to a state of dross, or elevates and goes to a place of higher heights. It can really be a big issue in how far you want to move your projections, whether they're from your mind or from something you've seen earlier at a certain point that pretty much inspired you to do something. I was thinking about certain projects that maybe people would have you do if you're like freelancing or doing something for somebody, but they want to be like really decision making on what you're doing. Well, depending on how much decision making they have on your creation, I mean, everyone has their own element and style and things like that. And if they have so much of an imposition on your work, then it's like, you become less of an artist for that project and more of a engineer or somewhere in between that. It seems like, it would be at a place where you're not really yourself. And that's somewhere you really don't always want to be. But maybe you want to stick on to it because at a certain point you might be able to go to certain projects that are pretty much more of your liking. While you're in a zone of what you're doing, you might get that impulse surge that your procedures and kind of do kind of a fast job. But always watch your moves and what you do in the process. It could like really hold something. It could really determine how good you do something or whether you can probably have done more. When you relook at the image, you might see something, oh, I could have done that. I could have added this to that certain point. And then I would have added more flair or something to the scene. Would have really stand out. Hmm. Or maybe I could redo the project or just add to it another time. At times I like adding a subtle burn to the front image or some parts of the front character because it might help in my depth. It might give me more of that punch, that kick that makes it pop out in the front with its disposition comparing itself to the back and the whole surrounding influences of the image. I hope you enjoyed this piece. If you did, like and subscribe. P.S. I want to give a quick special thanks to Rachel Wave for getting me these special printouts. Thanks.